but there are a few new faces, so let me introduce myself. I am Deb Basak, and you can call me DB. Those would be the initials of my name. I work for Infineon Technologies. Few words about Infineon. We are a semiconductor firm. We design as well as manufacture chips, and our semiconductors are used mostly for automotive, the green energy, as well as the industrial sector. We do have product portfolio in the consumer space as well, mostly in sensors and connectivity services. So being in this digital transformation space, there's so much going on. Everybody needs to be updated about what's happening next. Attending conferences like these is a good way to learn and keep updated. And the obvious next thing that you do is you keep reading and watching different things. So one fine evening, I was reading an Harvard Business Review article, and it said that the rate of failures in digital transformation is 70 to 95%. I was sure that I was reading a dated article. But it looks like the article was published in September of 2022. I said, whoa, 2022 and we are still failing? Haven't we already done stuff like digital mindset, digital literacy, breaking silos, linear thinking, et cetera, but we are still failing? I was intrigued, and I wanted to take a deeper dive. So what I did was, instead of looking at the failure, I flipped the question. I wanted to figure out what are the companies doing for them to be successful in the space. And it turns out that there are a few set of companies that have been very successful. And the list of companies are pretty obvious. The next thing that I did was try to bifurcate these companies in different segments. And for people who have been using AI and ML, I did not use any of those clustering algorithm. So it's all manual work. And the winners are in two different buckets. And just a caveat here, there are many companies that have done really well in this space, but more or less this gives you a trend of what's happening in the overall industry. One obvious are the digital natives, and the other ones are the incumbents, and I'm renaming them as transition to digital. So the first finding of my research was that companies that are successful have been very successful, have been able to align the digital strategy with the business strategy. So before I move forward, let me define what I mean by these terms. Digital strategy is nothing but how organization leverages digital to get a competitive advantage. So a few words here, organization. Organization stands for the firm, as well as the people who are working for the firm. The people is the key word over here. And the word digital stands for data, technology, the processes around it, as well as the new 4.0 technologies that have been used. Business strategy. These are a set of hypotheses that are used to create value for the stakeholders. With the definitions all set, let's go back to what we discussed. Firms that have aligned their digital strategy with the business strategy are very successful, and these are digital natives. For them, more or less, their digital strategy is same as business strategy. Case in point, Amazon. Amazon strategy was, in the earlier days, during the e-commerce, I'm talking about the e-commerce business of theirs, the strategy was to gain market share. And what they did, they leveraged digital technologies to do it. I can go more about it, but it's very obvious what the digital natives have been doing. A better example would be firms with the incumbents, how they have been able to align their digital with business strategy. Let me talk about banks. And when I say banks, I mean the retail banks. The retail banking strategy was to increase their market share and to better their operational efficiencies. 2013, 2014, around that point in time, fintechs were doing really good. The market share for banks were dropping. What they did was they pivoted to moving towards mobile platform in order to engage to the customers. Benefit of that, not just were they able to curtail the decline in the market share, they got so many data points. Most of the transactions that happened virtually, and they were able to reduce the number of branches and therefore improve their operational efficiencies. A great win-win for them. Look at John Deere. John Deere is a heavy equipment manufacturing company that manufactures equipments for agriculture, forestry, or heavy equipments. The strategy right now, as of today, is they say they are, sorry about that. What they say is they are smart, they build smart data-enabled heavy equipment. Looks like to be not a manufacturing firm, but like a digital firm. My next finding was companies that are successful are fine-tuning the digital strategy. Digital strategy cannot be static. It has to be dynamic, and one needs to look at data to validate or disprove the hypothesis. What's happening is one needs to adopt to the concept of design thinking in creating digital strategy. So what you need to do is figure out what are the data elements that you observe and define, and keep testing those data points against your hypothesis in order to prove it or disprove it. And you need to keep repeating this process iteratively till the time you're comfortable with your digital strategy. Again, we know what Amazon did. They leveraged the data so well. They saw what people are buying, what are the trends. They came up with different recommendations based on the data points, and they were very successful. Coming back to the banking industry, they came up with different products, and they tested the products with a smaller set of users. And based on the feedback, they even changed what strategies to apply in order for them to be successful. Outside the business, we always see what different politicians do in order to come up with their whole strategy based on what's the feedback they're getting from the campaign. My third finding was, in order to be successful, one needs to manage the digital transformation. And few heavy words, the word manage. What I mean by managing is when you're trying to change something, it's very difficult to change. People are more or less hesitant to make any changes. One needs to have proper change management in scope in order to make the success happen. Similarly, we're talking about transformation. And for transformation to happen, you need to have your entire team, as well as all the stakeholders, rally behind you. What I have seen based on my research is there is one thing that has been very successfully used is the theory of diffusion of innovation. It was first proposed by E.M. Rogers way back in 1962. Simon Sinek has made it popular with his TEDx talks. What this theory basically says is for any innovation to happen, there are the first 2.5%, those are the innovators. They get easily onboarded on any change. The rest, 12.5%, they are the early incumbents. They are the one who are okay to make changes, and they would try and experiment that. And the rest, 68%, are early maturity and late maturity. And the later part is all laggards. They probably won't change until they're forced to do it. So what the theory says is, in order to make any change happen and have the adoption in a larger way, one needs to attain a critical mass, and the critical mass is somewhere close to 15 to 23%. So what you need to do is you need to motivate those early adopters and the set of early matured people. Once you're able to do that, any digital transformation can get mass momentum you require to do it. So next time, when you come up with any of your digital initiative, first, make sure that your digital strategy is aligned with the business strategy. 2, have the digital strategy very dynamic and keep fine-tuning it till the time you're comfortable with what's happening. And finally, manage the digital transformation well. You can use different theories. Theory of diffusion of innovation is a good way to get the mass momentum going. I'm pretty sure if you follow these 3, you'll be able to succeed in your next business or digital initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DB. It's valuable insight. Thank you for all that research.